I have come to realize that, living on purpose or finding your purpose opens you up to do, what it is that you want to do with others, with community, with nature, doing less of the harm and doing more of the positive and finding ways to do things better. But I'm certainly creating a platform, an online hub for all things sustainability, finding more ways in which I can share knowledge on sustainability. And that's all I wanted to know. And no one was talking about it.
Welcome to Mission Activated, where we bring you the stories of individuals who've awakened to their true purpose and are living a life of passion, impact, and alignment. I'm Aveline Clarke, your host, and I believe that when you're on mission, everything falls into place. Here, we share the journeys of those who've discovered their unique path and embraced their soul's calling. It's not just about making money in life and in business, it's about making a difference, living on purpose, and inspiring yourself and others along the way. Let's get to it. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome Dayana Brooke, someone who embodies what it means to live activated on their mission. Dayana has not only found her purpose, but she's making waves in her industry of travel and sustainability by staying true to her calling. In this episode, we'll dive deeper into her journey, the challenges she's overcome, and the impact she's making, and what it feels like to be truly in alignment with your purpose and being on mission. I hope her story empowers you to reflect your own path and find the courage to live on mission in your world. Enjoy this one with Dayana Brooke. Well, hello, Dayana. Thank you so much for joining me. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for the offer and thank you for inviting me onto the show as well.
You're really welcome. I love meeting new people and I especially love hearing about, what they're doing and their journeys and what lights them up. And so, when I first met you, there was just this spark around when you started talking about what you did. And I just thought, I've got to have you on the show. So,
Oh, thank you.
for our listeners' benefit, whereabouts are you in the world?
I am currently in the northern suburbs of Sydney. So it is just about 20 minutes or so north of the Sydney Harbour Bridge. So this is where I live currently, but I'm actually from Wollongong, which is down south, which is where I was born and raised. But I've lived in Sydney for at least 20 odd years now. So
Yeah.
Wow,
thank you. And can you tell me what it is that what's your activated mission and how do you serve people in that space?
Yeah, certainly. Can I just go back to saying I'm actually on Cammeraygal land as well?
Yes.
And I'd like to also acknowledge, the traditional custodians of land. So, just want to say that as well. If it wasn't for custodianship, I wouldn't be able to obviously live and work and raise my family on this land. So I'm always grateful for that. So I just wanted to acknowledge them as well. I guess that ties in with your question, which is, what activates me in my life and my purpose. I think I kind of just missed your question because I was like so in the moment of saying where I was from. So would you mind just repeating that again?
Yeah,
Sorry.
that's fine. So how is it that you serve people whilst being on your mission?
Right. How do I serve people? Right. That actually is really, truly fundamental to everything that I do. And it's a realization that I've had for many years. But I must admit, in the last few years, it's really come to the forefront that is essentially my mission and my purpose. And it's actually part of my purpose statement is to be of service to others. And I do that primarily through sharing my knowledge on sustainability. Sharing knowledge on what it is to be sustainable, basic principles, changing mindsets as well, encouraging and inspiring others to realize it in themselves that they too can make a difference. They too can initiate small changes in life and in work. And in beliefs and habits, which is literally how I began so many years ago. And so realizing that I've been on this journey, realizing that I have created the changes, and living, I guess, in alignment with my values as well, is I really want to help others realize it in themselves. And essentially, yeah, being of service. I could keep talking about this, but when I look back at my journey, I realize there's so many moments, but there have been pivotal moments where I've realized that it was an act of service, and I am literally guided by that. How can I be of service, not just to my friends and my family and my children in particular, but more broadly to society, to community, to my work colleagues, and then more broadly to the planet, and to Mother Earth. So, yeah.
Wow, that's so beautiful. I've never had an answer like that before, and just so inspiring. Wow.
Oh,
Yeah, often I get well, this is what I do. Here's my profession, and this is who I serve. But you answered that in a really different and more holistic, grounded
oh,
way. It's really lovely. Thank you.
oh, thank you. I guess it's not often I get asked that, but it is, like I said, really, truly central to everything that I do, how I live, how I work. And I think, um, and I'm truly grateful, but I also feel blessed that I am in a position where my values and my passion and my purpose is aligned with also what I do professionally as well. And so, yeah, I love sharing that, and I just always feel so grateful
Mm,
that I'm in this position. Yeah,
wonderful. And that alignment, what you're speaking of, is exactly why I have this podcast, why I have
yeah,
these conversations. So you're in the right place. This is
great.
wonderful. Thank you. So I'd love to get into your backstory, the journey. So what brought you to be in sustainability, where, doing what you're doing today? Could you take us on the journey and go back as far as earlier into your life that you need to? Because I'm really fascinated to hear.
Oh gosh. Okay. Well, thank you. It's nice to actually be talking with someone who is fascinated, to hear my story, because it's a story that I've kind of, not really brought to the surface as much, because I always thought, oh, it's just me. Like, what am I really going to share? What is it that someone's going to, want to hear from me? But again, over the last couple of years, I've really learned to embrace it. I do have a story, and I'm proud of it. It's had its ups and downs. I'd love to say I probably am going to start from the beginning, because it really is founded in childhood. And I truly believe that our childhood experiences, are foundational. And for me, I'm actually a bit complex as to how far back I want to go. But I guess you've asked, and I'm going to share my story. So here goes. um, so like I said, in the beginning, I was born and raised in Wollongong, which is just down south. And I've always had this empathy or connection to to nature, to other living beings, like to animals in particular. And I never quite understood where it came from, and so I never really, you know, realized it was there until, I guess, later in my life. But when I look back, I realize it was there from the very beginning. And I'd probably bring that back to the fact that my family, my direct parents, my mum and my dad, are from Chile, in South America. And I was really fortunate, as a young child, to go to Chile. My parents worked really hard. They migrated to Australia, very little family here. And when they could, they would take us back to Chile. I was born here, but I had I was growing up in a Chilean household and learning the language of Spanish and things like that. But I do really strongly remember as a child, I was probably about 8 or 9, when we went to Chile one summer. where I had this connection to the people of Chile, to the lands. I was totally in love with the geography and the geology. I absolutely loved the volcanoes. I loved the fact that, there was earthquakes. It was just this land that was so different to what I was growing up on in Australia. But it just had everything. It has deserts, it has glaciers, it has volcanoes. It just had everything, all the geology and geography that you could, expect. It was all in this one country. And the people were amazing. Like, I was just so drawn to how they had very little compared to what we had here in Australia. But yet they were so happy. They were so fulfilled. They shared everything that they had. There was a lot of connections, like over food and just gatherings and things like that. And I had a love of it. I just fell in love with that. And that actually brought me to deciding in a career. So came home, went to school, finished my school, went to uni. I actually did a degree in geology, geosciences. But again, I wasn't really connecting the dots still. But when it came to a career, I was like, well, I love traveling. I love the experiences travel gives you. I love the connections with people, with land. And I was like, I'm going to do that. I enjoy it, and I can get a job out of it. So I'm going to do that. And so that's what I ended up doing. It was through those connections that I had as a child going to Chile that I ended up falling in love with travel, and what travel does in terms of its connections with people and land, and nature. And so I ended up in the travel industry, for 20 years. And I was always still focused on how could I create experiences, not just for myself, but for my clients, that connected them with communities and people and nature, and, appreciate it as well. I mean, we're talking, what are we talking? Yeah, like early 2000s, right through to 2020. Yeah, 2020. So over 20 years in travel and tourism. And it was always there, like this connection that I had to nature. I also remember when I was in corporate travel days, that I was becoming very aware of the amount of resources that were going into getting a person on a flight. And this was at a time when no one was talking about sustainability. So we're looking at, I do remember it was around 2005, 2006. And I started to, do things in our office at the time, things like getting people to recycle the back of, I'm talking faxes, when the fax paper used to come out. And we used to get so many things on, and the paper was just going to waste. So I was starting to collect that on the side and getting people to use the blank page on the back. And then my manager at the time recognized that I was, becoming, aware of just the office impact and how we can recycle, and actually initiated a green office policy and was putting me in charge of that. And again, this is at a time when none of this was happening, especially not in travel. And off the back of that, I implemented a recycling system in the kitchen of the office. Keep cups came out at the time. Again, this is all very, it's all normal now, but at that time, like, to bring your own cup to get a coffee was just like, no one was doing it. And because no one wanted to stand out. I remember thinking no one wanted to stand out because it was being different. And I realized then that was, you know, um, something that I had to address, because I certainly was the same. I'm a very big introvert. I don't like to stand out in the crowd at all. And so I was like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. Take this coffee cup, key cup at the time, go get my coffee and come back. And it was a very brave move at that time. And I was okay. Like, I did it. It got other people talking as well. And and I got others to do it within the office. And yeah, it slowly kind of went from there. The recycling got into place. People were be more mindful about printing emails as well. Again, this is all things that, were very, very novel in those years, especially in a corporate office. And then I very much remembered the global financial crisis happened, the GFC. A lot of my clients were not flying anymore. And I just very, very clearly remember one client of mine who, was a high-end frequent traveler. Back in those days, would fly over to New York, for example, for just a meeting and come back. And I remember thinking so much of our resources and impact on the environment, was not being addressed. And I realized that because I had this background in geology and geography and this love of nature, I was very attuned to the impacts on the environment. A few years prior, I'd actually become vegetarian as well. Had always wanted to move into veganism, but again, at that time, it was a little bit tricky. But I became vegetarian again purely for the environmental reasons and to not harm animals. And I just remember, with the global financial crisis, it really made me question my role, my career. And it wasn't until a few years later when I literally was like, and I remember this time, it probably was about 10 years later, when I realized that my business, and at this time I actually had my own company. I was booking travel for all sorts of different travelers. And I just realized coming to a point, and I was like, my company is actually contributing to climate change and I'm letting it happen. And I could no longer live with that. I was like, I cannot continue doing that. I love travel, but there has to be a better way. And by this stage, I'd actually had 2 children myself. I think they would have been, I don't know, maybe 3 or 5 at this point. And again, that was another realization in my life that as a parent, as a mother, I suddenly I become very aware of not just the present moment, but the future. Like, what is it that they were going to inherit? And how was I contributing to that? And at the time, I was just like, my career was at direct conflict with my values. I'd already implemented into our household minimal living as well. I'd reduced the plastics out of our food. I was doing a lot of, buying direct from farmers, our produce and all that sort of thing. And so I found my business was direct conflict with the values and what I was living. And that's when I literally stopped my business. I guess when you own your own business, you can do that. And I realized that I could. And I founded the Sustainable Traveler, which was a company that which was basically what should I say? I feel like I've been talking a lot, but the company was about connecting people to travel, but to travel for obviously meaningful ways with people, with communities, finding ways in which they could contribute directly to livelihoods of those communities as well, and just being more conscious. And I say that now, but at the time I had no idea what I was doing. So I should just say that all I knew was I had to do something, and I had to do something better. And so everything I've learned about sustainability has literally been a journey of, okay, what can I do better? Okay, that worked. Okay, what can I do now to make something, improve some other aspect? So it has literally been a journey from the moment, I guess, I started the Sustainable Traveler, which was in 2016, formally in 2017, which is when I started the company. And I've, literally learned everything. And another realization, I guess, I'd love to share is that, like I said before, I am, I'm not someone who will stand up or speak. or raise something that's uncomfortable. Like I literally will just stand in the crowd and no one kind of look at me. But I realized as well that in my work in travel, and at that time I was working in high-end luxury travel, that every time I went to an event, every time I went to a conference or sales meeting, I was always hearing the same things. I was always hearing about, how many rooms that hotel had, what kind of sheets that they had, the facilities. And all I could do is sit and think, but I really want to know what it is that your hotel or your tour or your company's doing for the environment. And that's all I wanted to know. And no one was talking about it. And again, I realized that I had to go somewhere very uncomfortable and ask the question myself. And to this day, I still remember where I was and who I asked. I was in Singapore at an event, and I remember asking this resort. They're based out in South Africa. And I remember just asking them, that's great. I'm going to stop you if you don't mind. That's great about the resort, but I really want to know what it is that you're doing for the environment. And they were like, I still remember there was the smile on their faces were like, oh my gosh, we have so much we're doing. We've just had no one ever ask us. And so then that was it. From then on, I think that was the second day of a 3 or 4 day conference. From then on, every single meeting that I had, I asked them, what were you doing for the environment? And some of them, again, didn't know, didn't have a response, but the fact that they were asked prompted them to think about it. And fast forward to today, I know that was quite a lengthy, I guess, answer to the question, but fast forward to today, and, I'm really pleased that these conversations are happening. And there's still so much to be done, that's for sure, but the conversations have started, which is fantastic. And and I'm just really pleased that I can help contribute in some way.
Mm. Wow. Wow. Thank you. And I'm glad you started where you did, because there's always the beginning, the
Yeah.
seeds. And
Yeah.
what I heard you say ultimately is, whilst you've been in travel because you love travel, your personal mission is to protect the land. Hence, would I be right in saying that?
Yeah, it was initially, to protect our natural world. It has evolved a little bit since then, but essentially it was raising awareness, that we are connected with nature. We're so disconnected in so many ways. And just realizing that we are actually connected with nature. We need nature for everything. We rely on nature for all our resources. And so, making that awareness, also protecting. But where we stand right now, we need to, be regenerating. We need to be conserving as well. But I still feel like then that my place is being more of a service to advocate for nature and helping people realize that nature is here, it's present, and we just need to reconnect with nature.
There's so much in there. Was there someone along your journey who stood out as a beacon of inspiration for you?
Again, that's a really interesting question, and hopefully I won't tear up when I reply. There wasn't anyone like one person in particular. There has been a few, not really directly, I'd have to say, as in there wasn't. When I said that growing up, I always had this awareness of the natural world. There wasn't anyone, no relative, no friend, nobody in my circle at the time that really sort of nurtured that. So it got suppressed for many years. I guess coming from a South American background, there was no such thing as a vegetarian. Like, I had no idea what it meant to be vegetarian until I was in my 20s, because it was like, what? And so no one directly within my sort of, I guess, family or friends network really sort of nurtured that. But over the years, there've been, influential, advocates such as David Attenborough and Jane Goodall, that I've really learnt from. But I've also learnt from those also outside of the conservation space. So, for example, at the moment I'm reading The Art of Happiness by the Dalai Lama, and I can really find connections of spirituality, that have helped me. But what I've what I've come to realize that there has been, I feel, although I've never met my grandfather on my dad's side, I do feel that hearing his stories from my older cousins, that I find I have a connection there that has sort of helped me realize that there's more that I can do. There's more ways I can be of service. And although I never met him because I was I was still quite young. I was quite young, I should say, when he passed. I've heard stories, of what he was like, and I find that I have a connection there that has really helped me realizing myself, what more I can do. And interestingly enough, my grandfather also was the person who inspired my mum in my name. And my name, Dayana, is quite unique. And so I'm often reminded when I hear my name of that connection as well, my grandfather. But I have found out he was very connected to, like natural healing and things like that. And so, I find I've been inspired by him, although I've never met him, but just through stories. Yeah. So,
If you're loving this conversation and want to dive deeper into purposeful work, then it's time to thank the 6-Star Leaders community for making this episode possible. The 6-Star Leaders are a group of purpose-driven business owners committed to doing business differently by embracing their unique genius and skills to make a real impact. It's a space for learning, growth, and truly becoming empowered in everything that you do. If you're ready to discover your own 6th star, go to bit.ly/6-star community-intro and book a chat to learn more. We look forward to seeing you. Lovely. Yeah, it's so nice to hear that you've honored that family connection, and it resonates for you.
Yeah.
I'd love to ask you a couple of questions more around in the sustainability, the space that you're in. I love how you've blended that with the travel. Was there anyone else doing what you were doing when you started the business back in 2017?
Not directly that I knew of, no, not within this area, certainly not amongst any of my colleagues. The word sustainability in travel was an absolute taboo. So, no. So I was obviously starting it. I actually didn't realize of any other company that was actually, focused on sustainability and making trips low emissions and only choosing hotels, with a green sustainable policy at the time. Now everyone pretty much has them, but at the time, no, it was really difficult to find information. Nothing was online. It was very difficult. So no, because I didn't know anyone else doing it, I was like, well, I'm going to have to do it, And so at the time, though, I was very aware of a tour company, so Intrepid at the time. They were always in, responsible tourism. That was foundation to their business. So I knew of them, and I knew that they would be one of my preferreds that I would, advocate for. But at the time, no, there wasn't anyone. And I remember when I first announced it, I must admit, a lot of people were like, "Oh my gosh, that makes sense. That's so you." And it suddenly felt like I felt liberated. I finally felt like I had a platform in which I could advocate for what I believed in, where I could be of service. But it was also a platform in which was aligned with my personal life and my values as well. So I felt very liberated, and again very blessed that I had come to that. And I was also aware that not a lot of people, were able to do that. Like, could just move their business quite easily, for various reasons. So it felt, it felt like a responsibility as well to not only share what I was doing, but also a responsibility to help others, if they were wanting to do things differently, whatever it might be, then encourage them to believe in themselves. And again, at the time, people were just, not really, I guess, looking beyond a business model, because this was literally changing a business model. And yeah, it was different. And at the time, yeah, as far as I was aware, no one else was doing it. Yeah.
Did you have any pushback from anyone or any naysayers,
Oh,
detractors?
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'll put my hand up and literally say it myself. I was like, oh my gosh, how can I do this? No, I can't do this. This is not possible. Like, I literally was like, I've never heard of this. I've never heard of a travel company that was centered on sustainability. So I was the biggest naysayer, I must admit. And also, there was some clients that I had to let go as well. And I did that. I probably, at the time, probably let go of about 75% of my clients, because I just felt that they wouldn't kind of they weren't ready to go on this journey of sort of changing and adapting their travel styles. So yeah, I had to let go of quite a few clients. And the ones that remained, they were on the journey too. So they, when it came to booking a hotel, I would offer them something different because of, X, Y, and Z credentials. And yeah, they were fully supportive. And so I felt like I started from scratch again. And I was doing different things. Again, now it's normal, but at the time I didn't print an itinerary. For example, and this was a time where brochures were still very, readily available, travel wallets, printed documents, e-tickets just started to come out. So again, not having a paper ticket or a physical paper with your documents was unheard of. And so my clients, bless them, transitioned with me, to move into digital itineraries and creating new habits, as well. And not, yeah, there was some things like, that we learnt from, like maybe next time for this particular country, we'll make sure we have a printed document to avoid any hassles, those sorts of things. But it was all a trial and error. Like no one had really done anything like this. I was also carbon offsetting flights. Again, at the time, no one was doing this. I was planting trees and yeah, every part of the itinerary and travel experience was done with a sustainability lens, and then the actual travel itself as well. I applied certain principles to it. So yeah,
Good
it was
on
all a
you.
journey. It was all a
Yeah.
journey. Yeah, but yeah.
Have you documented that journey? Because I think it would be fascinating because you were there at the start of what became kind of, like you said, mainstream, and people, it's something, a movement really, in the space of sustainability. I think you could. I think you could document that and have a lovely montage of that journey.
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't, I mean, I've shared bits and pieces of it along the way via LinkedIn. When I first started, I got a lot of support. Like you said before, did I get a lot of naysayers? On LinkedIn, I got a lot of support, I must admit. So that was really good and encouraging. But no, I haven't really. And it was literally a trial and error, like of things, of what worked, what didn't work, how to do things better. And it was a big learning curve. I was always learning. I always wanted to know more. Um, you know, trying to find out information, who was doing what was missing in the market. And that eventually led to, well, with the pandemic, travel obviously stopped, but that wanting and that need and to learn is what led me to university to get my master's in sustainability. So I'm on that path of I guess the path of sustainability also coincides with the path of learning, like learning every day, and that's another thing that I advocate for is, yeah, always be open to learning something new. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So, can you describe for me if there was a moment along the journey, and maybe that was in the last sort of 5 years, when something happened and it really shone a light on your validation of, oh my God, I am living on purpose. This is my mission. Wow. And it was just that moment of clarity.
Yeah. I've had a few moments where, yeah, the birth of my children was one of those. Starting the sustainable travel, I became another. The pandemic and the stop of travel actually was another one as well. But I'd probably say that fundamentally, all those little, points along the journey was really sort of realized, I should say, just fairly recently when I actually graduated with my master's of sustainability last year. And I graduated amidst, you know, uh, some changes in my life, some big changes that could have easily derailed me, could have easily become an excuse to not, continue with my studies because it was quite difficult to study as well as try and do the work as well as parent two children. And so it would become really difficult, but I did it. And I realized it. And graduation day honestly felt like, yeah, this is it. I am on my journey and I'm excited and I feel blessed and I'm grateful, but I also felt this responsibility to share all that I know because it's an absolute privilege as well to go to university. Um, I ended up at a very prominent university here in Sydney, and again, the barriers that exist not just for um, individuals, but also women, a mother, a parent. I'm in my mid 40s, and here I am graduating at university, and I did that as well. Obviously with the support of my family and my children. My children are one of my biggest supporters, I must admit, which is amazing. I'm truly inspired by them as well. Um, but yeah, that's when I realized that this is it. And it might sound, like I'm not saying that this piece of paper like suddenly gave me permission. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that knowing everything that I'd gone through to get to that point, knowing all the challenges and the roadblocks, and I could have easily have given up, I realized that my purpose was a lot bigger, and it was driving me to complete it and to do more. And yeah, I honestly do feel right now I'm on my journey. Yeah.
That's so inspiring. And I want to highlight that what you just said then about, on this journey, you've had so many moments of where you could have given up. There's lots of reasons that you could have made an excuse. There's challenges, there's roadblocks. That's life. And I want to just highlight that even when you are on your mission, you've figured out what you're here to do, doesn't mean that life is easy. It doesn't mean that you don't get all the other challenges. Of course you do. And right. And I think I'm saying that more for the listeners' benefit as well, that we all go through challenges. And when we do overcome them, like you've just described, I'm sure that that feeling when you reach that moment, like when you graduated, was even more powerful because you had stuck it out and you are there on path. You completed
Yeah.
it. Mm.
Yeah, I did. I completed it, and I also felt I was wanting to show my children as well, about learning is for life, and that if you set out to do something that you're passionate about, you will get it done. Things will come up, but how you deal with them is really important. So yeah.
Exactly. And staying true to yourself and
Mm.
knowing what it is that you're here to do and
Yeah.
honoring that vision.
Yeah. And when you have that, it really does center you. It grounds you. It allows you, it brings you back to center of what it is that you're here to do. It's much bigger than me. Like, I've come to realize that, um, I'm not the best presenter. I get absolute stage fright when I am presenting. But I've realized that it's a platform that's incredible to share knowledge. But my message is just much bigger than me worrying about what I look like or what I sound like on stage. So yeah, and that is all coming back to your purpose. Realizing that it's what drives me. Yeah.
Mm. How would you describe your purpose?
It is, it's my purpose is to I actually do have a purpose statement. I did a program with a business coach earlier this year, and it actually came to a point where it resulted in a purpose statement. And essentially it is sharing knowledge generously with others, but also not holding myself back, because if I hold myself back, then I'm being of disservice to others. So it's a real balance of, putting my, I guess, uncomfortable part of my life to the side. Yes, it's there. And yes, like I said, I get stage fright. I'm an introvert, all that sort of thing. But balancing that with the purpose and of being of service, and that is sharing knowledge of sustainability, making it accessible, helping people realize it really isn't as difficult or as complicated as it might seem. And it essentially, I honestly do believe that we are all inherently sustainable in our own ways. We just have to find our path back to reconnecting with, what it is that we are here to do, essentially, and reconnecting with nature. Nature is just so healing. It holds all our answers. We just have to find our way back to reconnecting and respecting nature. Yeah.
I would say that just from hearing you speak and everything that you've said, your purpose, yes, to share knowledge in order to bring people back to nature. Would that be right? Because that's fundamentally at your core. It sounds like that's who you are, and that's where
Yeah.
you started from.
Yeah, that's it. And that's why I was saying, like, when I look back, I can see it starting from early childhood is the connection to nature, and just, and I do that through sustainability, I guess, as well. And also my, I also wanted to say that um, everything I do, I'm very open and transparent with my lifestyle. There are aspects of, obviously, of my lifestyle that I keep private and I don't share, but honestly, I'm transparent about my veganism. I'm transparent about my sustainability. I'm very open and transparent about my lifestyle. If that helps someone else, realizing in themselves that they can make a difference, and I am doing that. Being a role model as well is something that I hold dear, and I do that, like, because this does actually happen to me quite often. Is I'll be at a shop or something and I've bought something and someone actually asks me, "Oh, are you vegan? Or can I ask you about this?" And I'm like, "Of course." So I love I love that. I love being able to, I guess, keep, I guess, remove those barriers and just be transparent as much as I can. If that helps if that helps that person ask me a question that they may not otherwise, had asked, then I'm happy to answer. Because I know for me, that's where it started, being brave enough to, put my hand up and ask a question. and it went from there. So yeah.
What you've just described is such an important aspect of living on purpose, and that is showing up in our natural way and not being afraid to share that, because each person is here to do something, whether it's impacting their community, a few people, the world. It doesn't matter how big that impact layer is. Yet I feel like the responsibility is within us to actually be ourselves. And what you've described and talked about today is exactly that. You've mentioned your responsibility and who you are and being who you are and showing up and speaking about the things that you believe in. That's perfect. That's exactly what we need to be doing. Not shout. It's not about shouting. It's not about overpowering or telling someone else what to do or making them wrong, but it's about us being true to ourselves and showing up as the best versions of us. And I just want to honor you for you being you, because the way you've described that is so beautiful.
Thank you. That's really, yeah, it's really, I really liked how you spoke. I guess for me as well is this is just, this is me, and like I said, I'm always, very grateful and blessed that I have found my way to this point, to be this way and be able to be this way, because I realize that it's very challenging. A lot of people, it's difficult as well, and it's not without not conflict, but some people aren't in my life, for example. Some new people are. So it's, but at after all of that is said and done, like, what is true to me is the, I guess, what matters, because that means I can then be true to others. And and like you were saying before, be you know be find it is, oh, now I'm sort of losing my mind, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
But yeah, I guess all this talk, I don't really often talk too much about myself, and I get like this when I have spoken too much about myself. But I honestly just want to help others realizing in themselves, that they too can make a change, no matter what it is. It doesn't, sustainability, like you said, or it could be the community, it could be setting up, a dog rescue. Who knows? It could be, who knows? But just realizing and empowering them that they can do something as well. Yeah.
You've answered a few of my questions that I had here already, just without me needing to. So I do want to ask, what's in the horizon for you? What's the next sort of couple of years look like for you? Have you got a vision, something that you're working towards, or something you'd like to see happening?
Yeah, actually, very excited about what's ahead. It's all still in the planning stages, but I'm certainly creating a platform, I guess an online hub for all things sustainability. So I'm really looking forward to just like finding more ways in which I can share knowledge on sustainability as well, making it more accessible and just really simple for people to bring into their life, into their work and their business. So that is in the works. And I just want to have more conversations like this, because if I can do that, then, it can resonate with someone as well, to either reach out to me or think about doing something themselves. I'm certainly excited about doing some more research. Not sure what that's going to look like just yet. As I'm navigating a relocation at the moment. So I have to, see how that will unfold. But essentially, this next part of my life is focused on parenting my two children who are going through high school, um, and just really focusing on my advocacy for sustainability, and just finding ways in which I can just be sharing more knowledge with people. So yeah.
That's exciting. It's really wonderful how you've what the path that you're on and what you've done, and how you're continuing to evolve and continually give to others and share knowledge and your spirit and that love of what you're doing, and love of the earth and the natural world. It's just really beautiful. Tell me, Dayana, how can people get in contact with you?
Oh, yes, of course. I am on LinkedIn pretty frequently. So please feel free to follow and connect and send me a message on LinkedIn. And you can also reach me on my website, dayanabrooke.com. I've got a subscriber list there. And if you want to stay connected and just, I guess keep up to date with new things that are happening, definitely subscribe to the newsletter, because something I should have mentioned is I'm really keen to create a community as well, and as part of that sort of hub of sustainability. So feel free to subscribe to stay connected and be kept up to date.
Thank you. And we'll have the links in the show notes below or to the side of this video, wherever you're listening or watching.
Here or down there or over there.
Somewhere around. Any parting words that you'd like to leave people with as they're listening to this, Dayana, about how they could potentially either, but be more sustainable, or something around them, helping them to figure out how they could find their purpose and how they can live on purpose?
Yeah, I love that question. I would love to say, look, it's all interconnected, to be honest. And so I have come to realize that, living on purpose or finding your purpose allows you or opens you up to do, what it is that you want to do with others, with community, with nature, which is essentially, sustainable, like doing less of the harm and doing more of the positive things, and finding ways to do things better is essentially what it comes down to. So if you can realize that in your work, in your life, in your family, in your business, and you can champion just one little initiative, one little change, that'll then create like a momentum of saying, okay, that worked. What else can I do that I can do better? So
Brilliant. So powerful, so simple, and just a lovely way to finish things up. I have so enjoyed my time with you today.
Likewise, I have too. Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming. For someone who doesn't like the stage or doesn't talk too much, you have talked majority, which is what this is all about, but it's just been brilliant. I've really appreciated everything. You are a shining light, a great example, and very inspirational for us all. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. You're most welcome. Thank you.
Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Mission Activated. If today's conversation resonated with you, please don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs to hear this. Remember, your mission matters. When you live on purpose, not only do you transform your own life, but you inspire others to do the same. Until next time, stay aligned, keep activated. I'll see you then.